that's a plan to go through these options to understand what we can do, how we can manage the admin center, or how we can manage Office 365 precisely. So the home page for the admin center, that just gives us some shortcuts. Okay, there are certain recommendations. Set your password to never expire. Okay, active users, billing, Office software, train, add some tiles here. But again, these are all shortcuts, everyone. So let's not look into that right now. So let's take a look at those options one by one on our own. All right. So the first option that we have, that we're going to look at here, that is active users. Okay. And just a quick minute here. Let me quickly drink some water. All right. So we have this option, first option, that is users, under which we have active users. So this is where we can manage our users from. Okay. Coming back to what we had started off our discussion, how we had discussed what Office 365 is. So we said it gives us these services. If you take a closer look, this is what Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, Stripe for Business Online. So we know these servers cannot exist without AD. So Active Directory is a prerequisite, is a must, right? So when you sign up for Office 365, right, it also sets up Azure AD in the background for us. So Azure AD is like the Active Directory for cloud, right? So what you see here, active users, that's nothing but a subset or a preview, a look into the Azure AD backend. So from here, you can manage your AD for Office 365, so which is Azure AD. Okay, so creation of users can be done from here. Okay, we add our users from here. There are a lot of other options that we can have a look at. Okay, so managing your users specifically is what is available here. Of course, there is a dedicated portal for Azure AD, that's portal.azure.com. Oops. Okay, so from there as well. From there as well, we have Azure Active Directory right here. Okay, so those same users are going to show up there. You can even create users from there. However, everyone, to assign a license, right? So your users can access the cloud services. That has to be done from the Office 365 Admin Center from here. Okay, so please remember that. So there's Azure AD. I can go to users here. Okay, so yes, the Azure AD is automatically created, as you can see here, Azure AD for Office 365. I just signed up for this tenant, right? I didn't do anything else. The moment I signed up for this tenant, this Azure AD was created for me in the background. This is a reduced version of Azure AD. Okay, there are different versions. There's a Azure AD Premium P1 or P2, which is available, which gives you more control, more features rather. But what you get by default with Office 365 is a free Azure AD subscription. Okay, so as you can see here, I can see my users. So I can create new users from here. Okay, so the basic settings for managing these users can be done. But yes, like I said, mostly for assigning licenses. So mostly for assigning licenses, this is where we'll be coming to. All right, so under active users, everyone, so this is what we are discussing right now. So we have our Azure AD, which is the AD for Office 365. So all your objects, user objects and group and contact objects are what are going to show up here. Okay, so you can manage it out from here. Addition of new users can be done from here. So if I just click on add a new user, so that will create a user directly in cloud in Azure AD. So let me give it a name, test cloud. Okay, test cloud 1 or just test cloud. Okay, so as you can see, it is very much similar to how you create a new AD object, right? So those of I believe everyone has worked on AD. So when you create a new user in your local AD, so you provide first name, display name, and everything. You don't have contact information right away, but you can anyways update it later. You have to provide a password. Similarly, here as well, we can provide a password. We can choose a temporary password for the user and make sure that the user changes it during the first logon, or we can auto generate the password. So a random auto generated password will be provided. At the end of this process, you'll get an option to see that temp password, and you'll also get an option to send that temp password to you or other administrators as an email, in an email. So you can share that email with the user, or tell the user the temporary password so that they can log in and reset it on their own. Okay, roles will come back to it, and the product licenses. So for the first time when I create a user, it will automatically pick up the license. Okay, or I can create a user without a product license. Okay, so when I assign it a license is where the user will get access to all the services. So let me click on add, and okay, so that's how the temp password is gonna show up. Or I can send it in an email to myself, and that's pretty much it, how you create a user directly in cloud. All right, so everyone, let's have a, yeah, can we change the temp password? Yes, we can. So while creating that user itself, I had that option of giving a temporary password of my own. So yeah, so here it is. So it's either auto generated, or I can select this. So the temp password can be this, whatever I want, and I'll check this checkbox to make sure the user changes it. Pure cloud service. Okay, when I say a pure cloud environment or a pure cloud service, so I'm going to consider that my organization, this TestCritSit organization, it does not have anything in on-premise. Let's say I do not have a domain controller. Let's say I do not have anything in-house. Okay, so probably let's say it's a startup, it's a new company, right? So it's a startup. They do not have any in-house servers. So they just want these services to be used directly from cloud. If that is the scenario, then adding a user directly like this makes perfectly sense, right? You add a user directly in cloud, you assign it license, and you can start using the cloud service right away, right? Or what if, now let's get into a little bit of scenarios wherein you can have a coexistence environment, like, or you already had set of users who have been using cloud services, probably not Microsoft Cloud. Let's say I had 15 users in my organization, or 20 users in my organization, or let's say even up to 100 users in my organization, but we had been using let's say Google Cloud, or let's say GoDaddy, or any third party hosted cloud environment. Now I want to come from there. I want to migrate and move over to Office 365, or more importantly, let's not take the term migrate at this point. So let's say I want to move away from that old service. Uh, I just want all those users which were created there, I wanted them to be created here in this tenant, in this Office 365 tenant that I've signed up for, right? This is my tenant. So uh, and of course, there's one way what we saw, adding a user one by one, but maybe that might not be a very great option. If you're talking about adding multiple users, importing multiple users, if that's what you want to do, 150 users, more than 50, more than 100 users at one time. So we could always use a CSV file, okay? Comma separated value, CSV file can be used to import multiple users at one time. Okay, so we can do that, and all those users would show up in my Office 365 admin center there. And then I can assign license, or reset password, or whatever I want to do. I can update it from the admin center then, from other active users. Okay, there are other options available here: deleting a user, resetting a user's password, refreshed, multi-factor authentication setup. We'll be looking at multi-factor authentication shortly. Okay, that's under settings, so we'll be looking at that. But just to give you a quick overview, of course, a lot of us, we already know, right? You all probably already know what multi-factor authentication is. So basically, it's a added layer of security. So if in case your user's passwords get compromised, so still you can be sure that no one would be able to access your services, right? So even, I mean, so in other terms, basically, along with the passwords, you also have to provide a one-time password, which is normally sent to the mobile device, message, or on a call, or you can use an app password, right? So there are various options that are available, which you could use in that case. Okay, so the point being, the various methods that are available, which we'll be looking at anyways. So point being, so it's not just the passwords with which you're gonna log into the cloud service. You would also be putting in OTP or one-time password, right? An additional layer of security which only you would know. So anyone who knows your password, just the password, they can't access your cloud service. They would also have to have access to your phone, and only then they'll be able to access the cloud resource. Okay. And the last option here, that is the directory synchronization option, which we talked about earlier, everyone, wherein if you have on-premise organization, you have a directory AD, in-house Active Directory, and you have, let's say, 100, 400, 500 users. So of course, you can just synchronize those objects over to Office 365 and set up a coexistence and start using cloud. Okay. So there is a tool called as Azure AD Connect tool, which we'll be looking at. We will be installing it in our labs. We'll be having a very close look on how direct synchronization that at this point. So at this point, let's just understand and focus on these options that we have. So yes, directory synchronization is an option available to synchronize our local Active Directory to Office 365. All right. So that's what we have here. We have some views that are available. Okay, so currently, see, I just have 2 users here. Okay, but in a production environment, since it's hanged. Anyways, so let me show you my production or my other lab environment. Coming back. All right, so as you can see here, see, this is not a production environment. This is just a lab environment. So a lot of objects are synchronized. You know, I had a set up lab environment with, I'd set up directory synchronization with multiple directories. So you can see different domains here. My point being, in a production environment, you'll have a lot of users. So what if you want to pick a specific uh, type of users? Let's say all those users are not licensed, or who are licensed, basically unlicensed users are here, or any users who are sign in blocked, sign in allowed. Guest users will come to that, what that is. Okay, so there are views available here. Okay, see, currently one, while creating, let me just go back and show that to you. While adding a user, right, in the username part, we had domain, right? This is my old tenant. The new tenant that I've signed is here. It doesn't have any other domain, or for the tenants, or for that matter, which you have signed up for, they just have one domain, the on Microsoft one, right? That is what I have here as well. So of course, that is the first step. So most of the times, the very first steps that you would probably be doing once you sign up for a tenant is adding our custom domain to Office 365. So definitely, yes, we'll be doing that. Okay, so just to be in the flow, I'm postponing that, moving that topic a little bit ahead of adding a domain to Office 365. But yes, in a production environment, probably yes, that is the first thing that you might want to do. Because unless you add a domain, a custom domain, you'll not be able to create a user with that domain. Okay. Anyhow, so the coming back to the point of views, uh, basically this option views, the feature views. So here we have some default views which are already available. Okay, sign in allowed, sign in blocked, unlicensed users. So when you have multiple thousands of users that show up in the portal, you just want to pinpoint few users, probably users who do not have a license. You want to, you could always do that. Okay, or you want to know who are all our global administrators in your organization. So what is a global admins? Global admins are the highest, that's the highest level of permission that can be provided, global administration. Okay, so we all, when we signed up for our trial account, we all, our account, the first account that with which we signed up, that is a global administrator account. Okay, don't worry, we'll have a look at the permissions. Okay, so all these permissions, all these options, basically views, different types of views are what are available. You could always add a custom view. So if in case you have multiple domains in your organization, so you have multiple users with different domains, I could select that. I could have say any domain or specify a domain. If I had multiple domains that would have shown up here, I would have selected that. I could check the sign-in status. I could specify the location of my user, in which country the user is located, what licenses have been assigned to those users. I can search, have a view on the basis of department, on the basis of city, state or province, country or region, job title. There are other conditions like synchronized users. That means synchronized from my local AD. Don't worry, I'll show this view again. We'll come back to it once we set up synchronization. So, but yeah, so users with errors, unlicensed users with exchange mailboxes or archives. So basically, these views would come in handy when you have a lot of users, probably like this one. So when you have a lot of users, so it's not just possible to keep on scrolling or searching, or when you want to pick a handful of or a particular set of users to assign them a license or to do something with those specific group of users. So you could always do that with the help of views. Okay, so again, not many options that are available, but yes, there are quite a few options that you can choose from while creating a custom view. All right. Uh, Coming back here, everyone, that search user and export, that's pretty self-explanatory. You can search for a user directly, pinpoint a user by typing in a name. However, let us have a look at one of the user's properties. So I had created this test user a few minutes back. Let me click on that test cloud user and let's have a look at the properties that we get here. Okay, so first we have option to change the info about this user, the photo or the name. Okay, so I can change the photo, reset the password for this user, block sign in so that the user is unable, basically gets kicked out of session from wherever this user is logged into the cloud service. The user will get kicked out and the user won't be able to log back in. I can delete the user. Username I can change. Okay, so you would notice that the username for Office 365 is always going to be in this format, everyone, user@domain.com. Of course, for the first time when you create a user in cloud before adding your custom domain, so it always shows up as user@domain.onmicrosoft.com.